Some people are good at saying sorry, really good. They say it with the right tone, the perfect timing, even a little guilt in their voice to make it sound real. But here's the catch. Nothing ever changes. They mess up, they hurt you, they disappear, and then they come back with another round of apologies and promises. And for a while you want to believe it. You almost do. But something deep in your gut tells you it's a performance, not a turning point. You see, anyone can say sorry, but not everyone is willing to grow. It's like a doorbell that rings every time you pass by but nobody's home. You start noticing the pattern, the same words, the same behavior, the same pain. It's not an apology, it's a reset button they keep pressing so they can avoid real accountability. And the longer you keep accepting it, the more you teach them that you'll stick around, even when they don't change. But here's the truth, you can't fix someone who's comfortable breaking you. You can't heal in a space where your boundaries mean nothing and your silence gets mistaken for weakness. And when you finally decide to stop playing along, when you stop giving free passes to recycled apologies, that's when everything shifts. That's when they realize you're not waiting anymore. So how do you respond when someone keeps apologizing but keeps doing the same thing? That's what we're talking about today. Stay with me, because this isn't just advice, it's a wake-up call. And by the end of this video, you'll have the clarity you need to break the cycle once and for all. Let's begin. If this message opened your eyes, even just a little, then don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be stuck in the same cycle of empty apologies and silent pain. This kind of clarity can shift a person's whole life. And in a world full of noise, we're here giving real advice that helps you protect your peace, your worth, and your future. Drop a comment below. Have you ever dealt with someone who kept saying sorry but never changed? Let's talk about it. Your story might just be the one that helps someone else wake up too. Number 1. Stop falling for words. Watch the pattern that keeps hurting you. If they keep saying sorry, but nothing changes, it's not regret, it's a routine. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. Are they truly sorry or just used to being forgiven? Because there's a difference between an apology and a habit. And when someone keeps saying sorry without ever changing, it's no longer an act of remorse. It's a routine they expect you to accept. At first it feels real. They mess up, they apologize, they make big promises, and you want to believe them. You tell yourself they just need more time, more patience, more love. But over time, something starts to feel off. Because nothing gets better. The same mistakes come back like clockwork, the same mistakes, the same excuses. It's like watching a movie with the same ending every time. No matter how many times you hit replay, the plot never changes. Epictetus said, "Words are easy, it is action that reveals character." And that's the truth. Anybody can say the right thing, but if someone keeps hurting you again and again with no real growth, what are they really showing you? Think of it like this. A fire alarm that goes off every night for no reason eventually becomes background noise. You stop taking it seriously, and you should, because alarms are supposed to protect you, not stress you out. It's the same with repeated apologies. If there's no fire, just noise, it's time to remove the batteries and move on. Let me tell you about Rachel. She dated someone who always knew how to say sorry, sweet words, tears, promises. But she noticed a pattern. Every apology was followed by the same behavior. Nothing changed. One day she asked herself, "What's different now compared to the first time he said sorry?" The answer was painful. Nothing. That was her wake-up call. And maybe it needs to be yours too. Stop falling for words. Pay attention to actions. Because when someone truly respects you, they won't keep testing your forgiveness. They'll work hard to never need it again. Number 2. Draw the line they thought you'd never draw. And mean it this time. Stop giving free access to your life. If they can't respect you, set the boundary that will. Here's what most people don't want to admit. When someone keeps hurting you and saying sorry, the problem isn't just their behavior, it's the fact that you've allowed it to continue. And that's not because you're weak, it's because you were trying to be patient, kind, understanding. But let's be honest, they took your kindness and used it as a pass to keep mistreating you. They learned that they can mess up, apologize, and still keep access to your life. But access to you should never be free, not when it costs your peace. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Stop allowing your soul to be a dumping ground for the misdeeds of others," and he was right. You're not helping anyone by letting them keep crossing lines just because they say the right words. That's not compassion, that's self-neglect. Setting boundaries isn't about anger. It's not about being cold or cutting people off. It's about clarity. It's about calmly saying, "You don't get to keep doing this and still have the same place in my life." And when you do that, when you say it with strength, not emotion, everything changes. Let me tell you about Ethan. He was in a relationship where every fight ended the same way, with an apology, missed plans, broken promises, disrespect, followed by, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again." And for a while, Ethan believed it, until one day he paused and said, "I've heard this before, but what's changed?" The silence gave him his answer, and that was the moment he drew the line. He didn't yell. He didn't explain. He just calmly made it clear, no more chances without real change. And just like that, the game ended. His peace was no longer up for negotiation. If someone can't respect your boundaries, their sorry means nothing. Say it once, mean it, and don't apologize for protecting your peace. You're not being harsh, you're finally being honest. Number 3, guard your peace like it's gold, because chaos is always knocking. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Protect it like it's all you've got. In a world that never shuts up, notifications, opinions, obligations, noise coming at you from all sides, your peace is your power. It's the one thing that keeps you from falling apart when everything else tries to pull you down, and yet we give it away so easily. Especially to people who apologize, then turn around and do the same damage again. At first, you think you're being kind. You want to believe the apology. You give them another shot. But every time they repeat the cycle, a piece of your calm gets chipped away. And soon, you're not peaceful. You're just emotionally tired, constantly anxious, second-guessing yourself. The real danger isn't even them. It's what you tolerate, you teach, and what you keep forgiving without change becomes your new normal. Seneca once said, "No person has the power to have you live with internal conflict unless you allow it." That quote hits hard. Your peace isn't stolen, it's surrendered. The chaos, the guilt, the drama, it only lives in your space if you let it. And choosing peace doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you finally love yourself enough to say, "Not this time, not again." Chris is a perfect example. His brother kept borrowing money, breaking promises, apologizing, and repeating the same cycle. Chris wanted to help, but all it did was drain him, mentally, emotionally, physically. One day, Chris realized it wasn't about his brother changing. It was about him deciding that his own peace mattered more. The moment he stepped back, he could breathe again. So ask yourself, who's disturbing your peace, and why are you still letting them? You're not wrong for expecting peace. You're not selfish for protecting it. Peace doesn't come from others. It starts with the decisions you make about who you let in and who you finally let go. Your peace is sacred. Don't trade it for promises that come with pain. Number 4, wake up to what you're tolerating, in silence before it breaks you. If you keep calling it patience, but it keeps hurting, it's time to ask what you're really tolerating. Here's a hard truth most people avoid. Sometimes what we call patience is just pain we've learned to live with. You might tell yourself you're being strong, loyal, or the bigger person, but deep down, you know you're just holding on to something that keeps breaking you. Let's be real. You're not just putting up with minor issues. You're swallowing disrespect, forgiving broken promises, and trying to explain away constant disappointment. You keep telling yourself it's love, or that it's just a phase. But what if it's not? What if you're just tolerating things you were never supposed to accept? Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Every day you stay stuck in something that drains you, you're wasting not just time, but energy, potential, and peace. That's the real loss. You weren't meant to wake up every day wondering if today will be different, only to go to sleep with the same heavy heart. Think of it like walking in shoes that are 2 sizes too small. At first you can handle the pinch, but the longer you walk, the more it bruises you, the more damage it does, and at some point you stop blaming the shoes and start asking, why am I still wearing them? Let me tell you about Amanda. Her partner wasn't cruel, but he was never consistent, always promising to improve but never actually changing. Amanda called it patience until one day she sat down and asked herself, what am I actually tolerating? The answer broke her, but it also woke her up. That was the day she stopped lying to herself. So ask yourself, what have you labeled as love that's really just pain? What have you called patience when it's actually neglect? Your peace matters, and sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't holding on. It's deciding you've had enough. Choose better. Choose you. Number 5. Let distance speak louder than begging. Stop saving people from consequences. When words fail, let distance be the lesson they never saw coming. Here's a truth that stings. Some people won't take you seriously until you're no longer standing in front of them. You can talk, you can explain, you can cry, reason, break everything down and pour out your heart, and still nothing changes. Not because they didn't hear you, but because they didn't have to. When people get used to being forgiven with no cost, your words start sounding like background noise. They learn they can mess up, throw out a quick, "I'm sorry," and get instant access to you again. And that's the problem, not just their behavior, but your response to it. Because when there are no consequences, there's no motivation to grow. So what do you do when your words don't work anymore? You stop talking. Marcus Aurelius said, "Punishment is not always by hand. Absence is sometimes louder than action." Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to scream, fight, or explain. It's to walk away, quietly, calmly, completely. That silence, that shift in your energy, that's the lesson. Let me tell you about Alex. He had a friend who constantly disrespected his time, always late, always making excuses, always apologizing like it fixed everything. Alex tried to be understanding. He explained, forgave, waited, but nothing changed. One day he stopped. No confrontation, no drama, just silence. He pulled his energy back, and the silence that followed said more than words ever could. And the friend? He noticed, but it was too late. This isn't about revenge. It's not about teaching someone a lesson with bitterness. It's about protecting your peace and reclaiming your worth. If they cared, they'll reflect. If they didn't, your absence just freed you from a cycle that was never going to heal you. So remember, when your presence is taken for granted, let your absence do the talking. Don't explain again. Don't repeat yourself. Just leave the space and let that silence echo the respect they refused to give you. Number 6. Demand consistency. not excuses. You deserve actions, not apologies. Stop settling for sorry. You deserve consistency, not chaos. Let's get real for a second. When you've spent so long being understanding, you start to forget that you're allowed to expect consistency. That word might sound simple, but it's powerful. It's the thing that separates people who mean what they say from those who just talk a good game. When someone keeps apologizing over and over, but nothing ever truly shifts, you start wondering, am I asking for too much? No, you're not. You're not being dramatic. You're not being harsh. You're not wrong for wanting someone to actually follow through. Real care doesn't live in promises. It shows up in patterns. Epictetus said, "Demand not perfection from others, but do not accept repeated harm." That's the balance. You don't need flawless people. You need honest effort. Because here's the hard truth. When you start accepting inconsistency, you slowly lower the bar for what love and respect should look like. You begin telling yourself, at least they're trying, even when you know deep down, they're not. And the longer you stay in that fog, the more blurred your boundaries become. Let me tell you about Natalie. She was in a relationship where her partner had a mouth full of apologies and a heart full of excuses. Every mistake came with a speech, but no change. Weeks turned into months, and nothing improved. One night, after yet another recycled apology, she stopped and asked herself, what has actually changed since the first time he said sorry? Her answer? Nothing. That was her wake-up moment. So maybe this needs to be yours. Remind yourself right now, I deserve consistency, not empty words, not half-effort love. If someone truly cares, they won't just speak it, they'll prove it. And if they don't, you have every right to step away. You don't need perfect, but you absolutely deserve effort that's real, repeated, and reliable. Don't shrink your standards to make someone comfortable. Raise your awareness to make yourself free. Number 7. Walk away without the drama. Detachment is your power move. Don't chase closure in chaos. Detach quietly and let that be your final word. There's a point where words don't heal, they just reopen the wound. When someone keeps hurting you, keeps apologizing, and keeps repeating the same pattern, your first instinct might be to fix it with one last conversation. One final heart-to-heart where you pour it all out, hoping they'll finally understand how deeply they broke you. But here's the hard truth. Some people don't hear you because they're not listening. They're just waiting for their turn to speak, to spin it, or to start the cycle over again. We grow up thinking closure comes through talking, through explanation, through tears, through that dramatic final chapter. But real closure doesn't always come with a speech. Sometimes it comes in silence, in distance, in choosing not to engage with the drama one more time. You don't need a big exit. You need peace. Seneca said, "He who seeks control over others must first master his own response." And that's where your power lives. You don't need them to understand. You don't need them to apologize just right. What you need is your own energy back, your calm, your strength, your clarity. Think of emotional drama like a fire. Every time you argue, explain, or try to convince someone to care, you're tossing more fuel into the flames. But when you detach, when you remove your energy, your reactions, your presence, the fire dies out. And that silence, that becomes your loudest, most powerful statement. Let me tell you about Megan. She was trapped in this loop. He'd let her down, promised to change, beg for another talk. And she'd give in, hoping for peace. But nothing stuck. One day, she didn't reply. No message, no fight, just stillness. And for the first time, she felt the peace she had begged him to give her. So ask yourself, will this next conversation bring you peace or more pain? If it's the second one, walk away, quietly, calmly. Let your absence say everything your words no longer can. Because peace doesn't always arrive with answers. Sometimes it arrives when you finally stop asking. Number 8. Stop explaining yourself. Your silence is the final lesson. There comes a point when explaining yourself becomes pointless, when you've repeated the truth so many times that even you are tired of hearing it, when your words fall on deaf ears, not because they can't hear you, but because they've already decided not to listen. And in that moment, your greatest power isn't saying more, it's saying nothing at all. You see, people who constantly cross your boundaries, hurt your feelings, or disrespect your values often know what they're doing. They're not confused, they just count on your kindness. They count on you explaining your side again and again, hoping you'll keep giving chances. But here's the truth, real respect doesn't need a PowerPoint presentation. It doesn't need you to defend your worth. It just is. Seneca once wrote, "He who angers you conquers you," and it's true. When you keep reacting, explaining, and trying to prove your pain, you give them power. But silence is a storm they never see coming. It's the shift they never prepared for. Because suddenly, they don't get the comfort of your explanation. They don't get to feel in control. All they get is the echo of their own actions, and that echo is loud. Think of your silence like closing a door without slamming it. No drama, no warnings, just peace. And in that peace, a message rings loud and clear. You had your chance. You wasted it. Let me tell you about Megan. She used to get caught in the same arguments over and over, trying to make someone understand how deeply they were hurting her. She begged, explained, broke down, and still nothing changed. One day, she didn't explain. She just went quiet. No speech, no goodbye, just distance. And it was that silence, not her words, that finally got their attention. So if they won't learn from your voice, let them learn from your absence. You don't need one more explanation, you need peace. And sometimes, the strongest lesson you can teach is what you no longer say. And here's the truth you can't ignore. Change doesn't come from repeating yourself. It comes from recognizing when your words are being wasted. You owe no one a speech to justify your peace. When someone refuses to grow, your silence becomes the loudest response. Protect your energy, protect your mind, and most of all, protect your heart. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever had to go silent to finally be heard? Let's talk about it.